Yeah, this meeting's being recorded. Cool. Yeah, so the reason why we care about data sets is because they're what we have control over as like the human controlling this model and training it. It's like someone created this analogy between like the way a model learns is sort of like with the data set you're giving it of these images, it's sort of like defining a particular like dictionary of vocabulary that it can use. And then what the model ends up doing at the end when it generates these things is it's using your set of like words in the language that you've given it, and then it generates poetry, some of which is gibberish, but some of which you can like pick out and be like, this is a great poem you made with this set of words I defined. um yeah, overall data sets will be the most time consuming part of the process, which is why we're taking a couple weeks to give y'all time to assemble them and normalize them to the same size and all of that. Yeah, and overall, a good question to ask when you're thinking about what data sets to gather up is like, what sort of data do you uniquely have access to? Like, do you have like particular collections of things, or do you have like a big hard drive full of videos of something? And also, what skill sets do you have? Like, if you're an animator, like you might be able to render your own data sets. If you're a coder, you might be able to like generate like programmatically 1,000 images in like P5 or something. Um, or if you're a photographer, you might be able to like, I don't know, you might have like some hard drive full of photographs somewhere. Um, yeah. And I think you may have come across this a little bit, especially when playing in Runway, is that like pre-trained models can be kind of limiting because you can only create images that are similar to what the pre-trained model has been trained to do. So yeah, like if someone's trained a model on for example like these sunsets, then you're pretty much restricted to like that model that they trained on these sunsets. And if you wanted like, I don't know, like sunsets that were taken from a different angle or have slightly better like fidelity or something, like you're pretty much just like stuck with what they gave you. And data sets, like training your own model with your own custom data set, is a way that you have more control over what is output. Um, yeah, and an important like piece of encouragement is the fact that like within the machine learning world, like data scientists and researchers, uh, creating a data set is like not a small feat. And sometimes like entire papers are written on like, we gathered this data set and here's this data set for everyone to use. And that's like pretty much the entire paper. So yeah, you should all give yourself a pat on the back for like going through this process and like gathering these data sets, because it is hard work, and it is like often work that people like publish. And so yeah, you should be, I don't know, like proud of yourselves for going through this. Um, and when you're collecting your dataset images, I know we touched on this a little bit last class, on dataset diversity. Like, is this set of images too diverse? Is it too uniform? Things like that. Um, this is one example of a dataset. This is a pretty well-known dataset called the Flickr Faces dataset. It's sometimes abbreviated as like FFHQ. I think it's like Flickr Faces High Quality or something. Um, but yeah, uh, there is one thing in common with this particular data set. Um, yeah, it is like the makers of this data set did one thing to sort of uniform, like normalize all of the images in this data set, and that is the fact that all of the eyes are lined up. Like they're in this same exact spot in each of these squares for every single image. And yeah, outputs from the model, like the StyleGAN model that was trained on this data set, like because they went through that step and like aligned all of the eyes, when these like these noise loop videos are produced, it's sort of like the eyes stay in the same spot, and then like the face court sort of like moves around, but the eyes are stationary for everything. Um, so yeah, just kind of like a very interesting effect like you can get if you align certain parts of the image, and if there's a like an overall consistency in some aspect of the composition. Um, yeah, and so this is an example of a data set that actually does have too much diversity. This would not be a great data set for StyleGAN, because while, you might have gone to Google Images and searched nebula, and all of these images came up, and they all are of like space nebula things. Um, this wouldn't be great for the model because the model just literally sees images as this set of pixels in these places. It doesn't really have that much of an understanding of like what things are. And so, like, for example, this one is sort of all over the place. Um, like it's like edge to edge all over image. Um, these two are kind of similar. This one is very like geometric and um, like pretty different from the rest of the images. And this one has like a single subject centered in the middle, which like differs a lot from like this one and these two as well. Um, yeah, one thing that might be good for this data set with these images is if you like went and found this image and it was super, super high res, you could actually like go in and crop each of these galaxies to be one image in the data set, where like all of the nebulas are like centered in the same exact way. Um, yeah, that might be a good way to use this if it ends up being high res enough. Yeah, on the contrary, or like on the other hand, this data set would be a good data set, um, because yeah, essentially like there is a similar like style, and also a similar like there's these borders, like pretty uniform borders for each of these. Um, if you can tell, these borders were actually like artificially generated. There's a particular option in this dataset tools library to um, sort of like take the color on the edge and stretch it out until you get a square image. Um, yeah. Any questions so far about these data sets? No? Okay. So yeah, ways to make data sets. You can make your own, meaning like using your own content, like your own illustrations, photos you've taken, um, text. Although, yeah, these models don't do that well in text, or video. Like if you go and shoot a video and split it into frames. You can also scrape existing media. So we'll be going over how to scrape from Flickr today. Um, and you can also like download videos from the internet or scrape images from Instagram. Or there are a bunch of ready-made data sets that people already have like out in the world and have set out for people to use. Um, so yeah, I think I may have shown you all this already, but uh, this is a model that was trained by Esteban Salgado, and what he did was he generated. Oh, we have Annie entering. Um, yeah, and so what he did is I think he wrote a script in Illustrator to generate these vector these colorful vector images and then trained a model on it. Yeah, overall, in terms of like ownership or anything, like if you're using your own data, it's all yours. And the downside of this is that it can be labor intensive. Like if you're, I don't know, drawing 1,000 things or photographing 1,000 things, it can take a good amount of time. The second approach is you can go and scrape existing media. Also, in terms of like, yeah, copyright and ownership, probably the least risky thing to do is to use media that's in the Creative Commons or public domain. NASA, I know all of their images, they have like this library of images and videos, also audio files that are just open for the public to use as long as it's for non-commercial purposes. There's also this biodiversity heritage library. I think all of the images are from books that are over like 200 years old or something, so they've all just automatically become Creative Commons. And there's a lot of stuff in here. Um, this is a nice quote that I like. We're kind of like, yeah, I guess like whenever I talk about data sets, I also talk about like data set ethics and things to think about, especially if you're scraping a bunch of stuff from the internet. So overall, like if you're using media that already exists out in the world, like someone made that or someone photographed it or took it and it is someone else's thing that they created and put out into the world. And so this is a quote from this artist, Everest Pipkin, and they said, to work with generative systems is to be a curator. To curate a corpus is to value the contributions inside of it. They are still artworks individually, and the people who make them are still artists. Curating your own corpora is to be able to deal with the original creators of your corpora as humans and as collaborators, not as data points. Yeah. Yeah. What does this quote mean to you, like reading this? What do you think they're saying?
I think it's saying that you are a part of this bigger process and you're a creator and the people who made the images are a creator, and just sort of mutual respect.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Cool.
He
Any
kind of,
any other thoughts?
yeah, I thought like maybe what he wants to convey is like you have to retain the essence of what the artist was trying to put across in terms of when they were trying to uh, capture or create that form of art. It could be a photograph or it could be something in terms of maybe an image or an illustration. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind that there was a human behind this. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
keep that as the essence.
Totally. Yeah. I think like I don't know, like not a lot of people when they put their work up on the internet, I think like someone's gonna come and scrape my entire Instagram profile. Um, so yeah, in general, yeah, just be courteous and yeah, treat the people whose data you're scraping as like people and think about how you would feel if like someone like sort of did the same thing to you and what sort of like good manners you would hope that they would take, like being like DMing you and be like, hey, would it be okay if I did this? Or how do you feel? Or like what sort of credit would you want? Um, yeah, there have been times when I've scraped from particular Instagram accounts and I like message them and check if it's all right and what sort of credit they want, if they want any credit for it. Oh yeah, so what Everest Pipkin did, they this is like in reference of a particular project they did where they scraped like pretty much all of the content from an online forum. to create generative poetry, and they actually went through and credited everybody and was like, "Thank you," in the credits for their projects. Yeah, with that said, there are different ways you can scrape from the web. You can download a video from YouTube and split it into frames. You can download images from Instagram accounts or hashtags. You can also do it from Flickr. You can search, like, scrape from a Flickr particular search term or from an entire group on Flickr. And if you also find other data online that you want to scrape, let me know and I'll help. There are some other like scripting tools that are a little more complicated, but I can help out with that. That are for like an arbitrary website. Like if you find some person on the internet has uploaded many photos of like Japanese textiles on their website, then I could help you scrape that. And the third approach, this is the least time consuming approach, is to just use an existing data set. There's this is like a really big spreadsheet that I think Golan Levin has compiled. He's like a generative artist person. But yeah, this is a big spreadsheet of public data sets, and it also lists what the image count is of them. You might also be able to find, like, if you just Google like fish image data set, you might be able to find something existing on the internet, like fish classification, labeled fishes, fish image data. So maybe like, yeah, like this links to particular data sets. Yeah, you might be able to find something by doing a quick Google search first. Yeah. And this, yeah, it lists the URL. Um, some of these may not be high res enough. In general, we're looking for images that are 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels. That's what we want in the end. So overall, it's like best if the images you're collecting are either that size or larger, and you can scale them down. If you can't find images, like if you're really dead set on a particular data set and it's smaller than 1024, you can upsample it. Either like Photoshop is pretty easy to upsample. If you want to do it more like, I don't know, like intelligently or with machine learning, in Runway, there's also a tool to upsample images and videos. And yeah, I think it does like a little bit better than Photoshop's upsampling with preserving details when it's upscaling stuff. Cool. Yeah. And in terms of like ethics, an important thing to keep in mind is if you're using a public data set that's already out and on the internet, it's important to think about like who made this data set and why, and was the data, like where was the data coming from? Like for example, there's this data set called the Megaface data set. It's a public data set of 4.7 million faces that the University of Washington scraped from Flickr without permission of the people inside. And yeah, I think the thing that makes this, well, the first thing was like it, the first thing that makes it sort of questionable is the fact that it was scraped like without their permission and it's like facial data. But the second thing that makes it like super like this is problematic is the fact that it was used to train facial recognition software, which yeah has a lot of biases and yeah, like not great implications, and especially when it is being like used by like these big companies for facial recognition. Yeah, so in terms of like risk risk evaluation for like gathering these data sets, the least risky thing to do is to use your own data. And if you are scraping work from the internet to prioritize work that's in the public domain, or just asking people whose work or identity is in your data set. And if you are scraping from the internet, in general, like scraping from 5 users' pages is better than just scraping from one, because then you're not just replicating like an entire one person's body of work. And it's sort of more like a collage rather than just like replicating like this one artist's work. And also in general, just credit people. And if you're posting online, it's good practice, just like general good manners to like tag them and be like, I trained a model on this person's data and this is what came out. Cool. Somebody asked me how to make a data set from a video. So if you have a video already, there is this tool called FFmpeg. It's a command line tool, but it's sort of like a Swiss Army knife for anything related to video, like chopping a video into frames or putting frames into video or resizing things or converting like an MP4 to an AVI or things like that. But yeah, overall, you can take or scrape a video from the internet. There is a YouTube downloader, there are a bunch of YouTube downloaders you can find on the internet, and you just paste the link and you can download the MP4. These next slides are essentially just going through my process for my flowers model. So I found this video on YouTube of these flowers blooming. It's about an hour long. And yeah, I went and downloaded it from YouTube with the downloader. And overall, like all of the flowers are pretty centered in the same way. And it has like a pretty uniform aesthetic. This part is optional. I went and took that video and imported it into a video editor. I use Resolve because it's free and pretty powerful. But After Effects would work just fine. And I went and the first thing I did was manually removed a bunch of segments I didn't want, like just like delete these 10 minutes and stuff like that. Then I did some manual realignment to make sure like, okay, this flower was shot a little bit more to the left. I'll just scoot it to the center. I also, you don't have to do this, but I went, like all of the backgrounds black. I went and removed all of the backgrounds with a chroma key. Like I just selected all the black parts and removed them. I think I made it white. And then within the video editor, this is also like an easy way to like crop or resize a bunch of images. Is if you have them in a video format, you can just crop or resize the video to the right resolution and then split it into frames. So yeah, I took this video and then made sure it was in, like the export was a 1024 by 1024 square, and like it cropped the edges off of the video. Cool. And then this is what I was left with after all of that, like images like this. And you can see like some bits where the color chroma key didn't do so well. But yeah, generally like small details like that won't be that disruptive to the overall image. Yeah, and then the next thing to do is to split it into frames. You can use FFmpeg. I also know that you can do this in Photoshop. A couple of my students have done it in Photoshop. FFmpeg, there's a tutorial linked here from me and my co-teacher's channel. But essentially, if you want to extract 1 frame per second, this is the command. Just substitute in the name of your MP4 file and like where you want these frames saved out to be. Like if I want it saved out to this folder, I just put it like this folder, split frames, PNG. That's where all of my frames would be saved out to. One important like implementation detail of doing this is if you're using FFmpeg, I'd recommend you save them out as PNGs. I've just found in the past that FFmpeg JPEGs are pretty low res, and if I save them out as PNGs, they're better quality. Cool. Okay.
Hey, Leah,
Yeah.
real quick. What is like with like transparency? I mean, if you're doing a PNG, you could do like a transparency maybe, but is that like something you want to avoid? Is that fine? Like, does that mess with like background information?
Yeah, I think these models don't understand transparency at all. So
Okay.
you'd want to make that all like one color.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Any other questions? If not, let's go on. We can go on a break until 30 after, and we'll reconvene on the half hour.
Sounds good.
Yeah. See y'all soon. Meetings being started. Okay, cool. So yeah, well, we're gonna have a hands-on portion to scrape from Flickr. We'll be doing it from a Colab notebook. The link to this notebook I'll drop in the chat. As always, make sure when you open it up, make a copy for yourself. So that'll be in file, save a copy to drive. File, save a copy to drive, and make your own copy. Yeah. As usual, the first couple slides in this Colab notebook are just to download a repository, which is, I can actually show you it. It's a library that contains code to scrape images from Flickr. Yeah, this original repository also has all the directions for it. Like you can scrape a search term. You can also scrape a Flickr group. I think Samantha was talking about scraping a particular group. Yeah, apparently you can also add latitude and longitude coordinates to specify a geographic bounding box. I think that's like if this image was uploaded from this particular place. But yeah, that's just the repository. Which did it actually? Yeah, so let me run this. Yes, we do want to execute. And so these first couple cells are just doing some setup, like installing the repository. So now we have it here, Flickr scrape. And yeah, this pip install is just installing some like dependencies or libraries that it needs to run. This part here, this is a thing that you'll need to do like manually on your own. In order to scrape from Flickr, you'll need to make a file called credentials.json, and you'll need to go to Flickr and get an API key from them. So if you click this link here, it'll take you.
Are you still sharing your screen?
Yes, I should be. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, the first couple cells are just to like do setup. The thing you'll have to do manually is you'll need to go to this link right here, and you'll need to get an API key from Flickr. If you go to this link, it'll take you to this page. You'll have to go through some like login things. I think you'll need to log in and then say you're using it for non-commercial purposes. Let me drop this in the chat. It's also linked in the Colab notebook. It's this link to get an API key from Flickr. And once you go through the entire flow, I think you will get an API key. It'll be like a random string of numbers. It will look something like it's actually on my other laptop. But yeah, it will be like a random string of numbers and letters, and what you'll have to do is you'll have to open up like Notepad or oops, things are opening up. You'll have to open up like Notepad or like a Sublime Text 2 if you have that, and just save out a file called credentials.json, and then you'll input these in here. Yeah, and then after creating that file, you'll upload it and put it in this Flickr scrape directory. Yeah, I think if you all can start that process now, I'll go ahead and like get from my other computer what my file actually looks like. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit to do that while I go grab that, what it looks like. Yeah, any questions thus far?
Where do you get your API? I logged in, but it just went to like the homepage.
Let me. It should be. Did you get to this page?
Yeah.
Maybe like if you're logged in already, try going to that link again.
Oh, okay, yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, so for me, my Flickr key looks like this. So I got this. I can make this bigger. Yeah, after going through that flow, I just got this API key and then this secret API key. And yeah, just make sure your file is formatted like this. And you like put these in double quotes and everything. And then you save it as credentials.json. Okay, I put this on my desktop. So let me know when you're there.
When it gives me my key, it doesn't look like that.
Oh, what does it look like?
Here, I'll send a screenshot to chat. I just need a screenshot.
Yeah.
Like it just lists it out.
Oh yeah. So you'll need to make. I'll share my screen again.
Sorry.
So yeah. So you'll need to like after grabbing this, like this is exactly what you want. You'll need to copy that and then stick it into a file, like a text file, and then yeah, just maybe you can grab it from here from the Colab notebook, and then just like copy and paste, and then stick in those things that you copied and pasted from the page.
Doesn't matter what did you write for the app? Like I'm not
Ah, it might
sure.
be. You can
Just like
also do
what?
it in just Notepad if you have Notepad.
Oh no, like when I apply for the key, it's like, oh, tell us about your app. And I'm like, wait,
Ah,
does it
I just
matter?
said you can just be like scraping images for an art project or something. Yeah.
I put like ML art or a random name and then
hmm
Got it. Okay, I didn't know there was like, I don't know. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
Always bad at like naming a character in a game or something.
So you then put this into a text file, is it?
Yeah. You could do it in Notepad. So if I'm like doing this over, I might go to Notepad and like put these strings and numbers in. And then file save as credentials, not the JSON. Then you click save. You also for Notepad would want to click save as type all files because you're specifying that the file extension is JSON already. Otherwise, it'll just save it as a .txt.
I think I have to download this. Give me a notepad.
So where are you at?
Yeah, so I've got the key. I
Mhm.
just want to put this in a text editor.
Yeah.
I don't have any text editor on my system right now.
Do you have Notepad? It
I have
comes
notes.
on
It's
a
in
Mac.
iOS, so I have notes. But
Use text edit. I think it'll work.
oh, yeah.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Just search in your Finder. Even if you don't have it downloaded, it'll come up.
So how do you save it with a different? So like you save it as a text and then replace the extension with .json later on.
And I think it's
When
called
you use text editor.
text edit. And then if you're on PC, you can use Notepad. And then save out as credentials.json. And yeah, make sure when you're saving it out that you click save as type all files. Because otherwise, if you pick a specific like .txt, it'll just save it as .txt, but you want it to be saved as this .json. .json.
Would you be able to share the Google Doc again on the chat?
The slides or the notebook?
The slides.
Yes. There we go. Yeah, and then once you have your file called credentials.json, and you're in the notebook, you'll want to upload it. So if you click this upload, grab your file credentials, upload it, and then put it in this Flickr scrape directory. Yeah, basically this is, in order to scrape from Flickr, you need an API key from Flickr. And yeah, you just need like these credentials to be like, I'm not evil and I'm not going to use this for a commercial purpose.
I'm not seeing a Flickr scrape folder next to sample data. Is anybody else having that?
Did you run these cells?
Ah, no.
Run these.
Okay, so I think I'm having trouble saving the doc as a JSON. It's like not letting me save without the extension RTF. I'm on Mac.
Yeah, even I'm trying to figure that out.
Could you share your screen? Let me.
Sure.
Yeah. I do also have my Mac here. Let's see.
1 second.
I think you might be able to just change the name if you go to rename and then like delete the .rtf and just replace it with like delete and then just type in JSON on a Mac. Like if you just literally like go into Finder and rename that folder or that file.
Oh, so just like save it and then rename it?
Yeah, just like delete
Okay.
the .rtf and replace it with .json.
Okay. Oh. I'm not still sharing, am I? I can't tell.
Nope. Well, where is everybody else? What stage are you at? Eddie, are you ready? You got it?
I think so. I mean, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But no, I think I got it. The only thing is I got a bunch of errors when I did I think the third block of code, but then at the end it says successfully installed beautiful soup. So I'm gonna cross my fingers.
Sweet. Yeah. Did you upload the credentials file?
I did.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will show you. Yeah, so this is all like a setup to get like ready for scraping.
Yeah.
Then if you want to get started, you can scrape either a search term or a Flickr group. This first cell is to scrape a search term. Like this is the search term snowflake. You have to specify a max number of pages or else it'll just scrape everything, and you don't want it to scrape everything. And you can specify like a start page. So this will scrape from like the first page and the second page, and I'll download all of them. If I run this, it should do this again. Let me start this. So yeah, if you click this cell, it'll start downloading from the search term. And then if you want to download from a particular Flickr group, it's this -- group, and then you input the URL for the group.
Where was it that you define where it's saving? Or is it just going to your downloads typically?
Yeah, it's just gonna download, I think,
Directly? Okay, just wondering.
directly. And then like later on in this notebook, there is like after you scrape something, you can copy all of it to your Google Drive. Because this is a Colab notebook from Google, you can attach your Drive account pretty easily. So running the cell will attach your Google Drive here. Like it'll show up on the sidebar as Drive, and then you can just like click and drag that folder and stick it in your Google Drive.
Oh, I see. So it's down. Oh, that's right. It has like an images folder right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Real quick. So the kind of modifiers that are in the like the max pages and the start page. Last week, you kind of opened up sort of library of, I don't know, maybe library is the wrong term in this case, but it was like sort of like the, I don't know, directory of like all the different modifiers that you can use for kind of adding on or like tweaking, you know, how many images or like how long we wanted the noise loop to be. Where could
totally.
I find, where is that sort of like directory of options typically? Or documentation, I guess.
Yeah, let's see. Well, usually it is like in the repository. So if I went to this GitHub URL, I would appear here. And then like hopefully if they've documented it well, it'll be in the README.
Okay.
Like if you scroll down, it'll tell you to scrape for a search term, do this, scrape for a group.
Okay, so it's just okay.
Also,
yeah, I've never used GitHub, so
yeah, totally.
Not actively, really, not intentionally. So it's good to know.
Okay. Also, this may or may not work. Let's see. Yeah, okay, this worked. This is sort of if they haven't like gone and written in this text file like how to use it. One thing that might help is you can type for pretty much any command, you can tap -- help, and then it'll output like how to use it. These are all optional arguments. -- search for the search term, -- group for the group URL, like this URL.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then some other options as well. Oh, there is a -- output directory if you wanted to like be like save to my drive. And then it would save it out to there.
All right, let's try it.
Annie, where can I find the Colab notebook and Slack channel? The Colab notebook is linked in the slides on page 30. I can also drop it in the chat.
I'm on page 30.
Oh.
If
you click, Yeah, it's in this link.
The scraping for Flickr notebook. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I guess like once you've scraped something, the very last part is saving it out to your Google Drive. This last cell will mount your Google Drive. You'll need to click through to this URL and like authenticate. Like, yes, I approve. Copy that and put that here. Press enter. And then once my Google Drive is mounted, it will appear here in the sidebar. Here, as drives. My drives. And then I have like an SSHH folder. And I could just take this snowflake, like with all of the images downloaded, and just drag and drop it into my drives. And then if I just, I think if I go to my Google Drive, it should be there pretty fast. Yeah, snowflake. And then I can see the images. Suppose it's snowflakes from Flickr. Yeah, you may need to like flip through all of these and clean them up because, yeah, just checking one search term or something on Flickr doesn't mean that you won't get a bunch of like false positives. So this one might be pretty good, but yeah, a good amount of these would not be. Like I wouldn't want to include this guy in my data set. Yeah. Where's everyone at in the process? Any obstacles?
Yeah, I went for it, and I think I got to. Nothing happened other than some kind of comments underneath the block. But I think my credentials might be wonky because I just opened it up here and it's got all sorts of other kind of.
Could you share your screen?
Yeah. Give me a sec. Wonder if I just had trouble. I couldn't I couldn't export directly as a JSON. So I had to rename it then in Finder. So I wonder if that messed it up. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you can see. So my JSON's got full like garbage.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
like,
delete all of that stuff.
I think it even had like some stroke stuff.
And then, yeah.
Actually, that probably is it. But
yeah, I think that's it.
we can all watch and find out. Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I need 2 brackets.
Yeah.
So do I need to save this, or does that just?
If you just like Apple S, yeah, it's saved now.
Oh, it's saved. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Let's try it. Okay. Snowflake.
Woo, snowflake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So if anyone else had that problem, I just double click on the thing and it'll open up.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool. And then
Thanks.
maybe you might want to download that fixed JSON if you just like download it as like your good one.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Where's everyone else? Yeah.
Oh, Eddie, what did you delete? Because I had that same problem and
Yeah. I'll how could I show you? I'll show you. I'll just upload the wonky one again. All right, let's see if I can. Okay, so this is the wonky one, and I just followed the format that I needed, which is really just this part down here. So it's like open curly face bracket, and then all through the end. But I also had some like weird stroke
Yeah, I have that
stuff.
too.
Yeah, so get rid of those because that came in from the like the Flickr styling. So it's like it's on either end of the actual like keys. So, and then there's like an extra like backslash and curly bracket at the end too. So, but the format for it is just up here. So if you're like, that's what I followed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Annie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think I'm a little behind, but so I'm just setting up the API key from Flickr. And so the directions say create a file called credentials.json. Does that mean like I just make that, I just copy and paste that into text edit? Or how do I
Yeah,
create
seems like all of y'all are on a Mac. Also, like one thing that might be, if we're finding that like text edit isn't working out right with like the RTF format, there's actually a way to make files directly in Colab. If you just like click on the dots, new file, and you can call it like credentials.json. That might be easier. Credentials.json. I already have one, so I'll call this one credentials too. And then you can click on it and then just like copy and paste the content in. This might work better than going to like text edit. Any questions so far? Any like spots you're getting stuck at?
When I do this and I run this scrape play button, it gives me an error which says no such file or directory for scraper.py.
Did you run all of these cells up top?
Have I?
Anshul, did you get it?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that are executing right now.
I see. Okay, cool. Samantha, how are you doing?
Good. I'm working on exporting right now.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's working.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sabrina, how's it going?
I think good. I had like some extra backslashes also, so I just deleted them.
Nice. Cool.
I'm hoping it'll work now.
Yeah.
So it's downloading images somewhere. It's at 20%.
Cool. Yeah, the images should be saved under this images folder in Flickr Scrape. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there were a lot of images.
Yeah, and an important thing is to sometimes if you scrape or if you don't specify max pages, it'll like download a lot of images and then it'll time out. And then you'll like lose progress. So yeah,
Yeah,
always specify like the max number of pages.
it's executing on 2 pages for me right now.
Cool. Nice.
So this is for the term snowflake. How do you like edit this term? Like where do you edit this? If you want to maybe search for something different.
A different search term?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right here, you just replace snowflake with whatever search term you want.
No, 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 hold on. I'm not typing. So, yeah. Okay. So,
Mhm.
oh, all right. So it's that specific. Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Great.
it's just replacing this snowflake with whatever else. I think
So
if
then
you
it will.
want to, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just like.
Yeah, and I think if you want like a search term that is like 2 words or multiple words with a space in the middle, you'll need to put it in quotes, just so that it knows that it's all one string. Yeah, and I know we're at time slash overtime by 7 minutes, but yeah, I'll hang around till everyone's settled. But yeah, also feel free to hop off if it's too late for you or if you have something else to run to. And it's yeah, sessions being recorded, the slides are up and available. Annie, how do I create the file credentials.json? So let me show you. It might be, yeah, if you're in Drive or in the Colab notebook,
Yeah.
yeah, have you run these cells? First run these cells.
No, I have not.
Okay, yeah, run those first.
Yeah, so I have a collection of images after executing that specific bit. Now I go to the next one, right? This scraper.py dash group.
Yeah, you don't have to run both of them. If you just have a search term you care about, you can just run the first cell. If you have a specific like Flickr group that you found that you want to download their photos for, you can run the second cell
So
about the group. Yeah, make sure to put like max pages too. And then once it's done, it'll be saved out in this images folder.
I don't know why it keeps telling me that the file not found error for the credentials thing.
Oh, did you drag and drop it in the Flickr scrape folder? Should be in that folder.
Yeah, I have two of those. Like I have a second Flickr scrape folder inside of it.
I see. Okay, I think what might have happened is you may have run these two cells first, or like twice.
Oh.
But
Should I just
yeah, I
start?
think you could. Yeah, I think that'd be the most straightforward thing to do
Okay.
if you go into this will like factory reset it.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Mhm.
There's a basic question.
Mhm.
Um,
Go ahead.
I feel like when I read through the commands, it's like a foreign language that
Yeah.
I speak a tiny bit of, but I understand a little bit more when I read it. But I wouldn't have the confidence
Yep.
to write any of it.
Yeah, totally.
So like things like, I don't know why some things have like 1 dash, some have 2. When Eddie
Yeah.
described them as modifiers, I'm like, oh, that's what they're called. And then I think I remember in one of the videos, like sometimes the exclamation point, like I think that means Python, but some lines are like command line terms.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm just wondering, I guess two things. One is like, is there a, for future classes too, like would it be helpful, like is there like a video, like one resource that's helpful to like get a basic working understanding of these things? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for collab, yeah, I do think like the best practice for this would be, yeah, like essentially like collab is pretty new and there aren't like, courses about like collab syntax. But yeah, I think a lot of what Yujong presented last week in her collab like demo notebook of like, this is how you run cells and this is what an argument is, and what a file path is. Yeah, I think that's like a good general intro, like what we went over last week. I can answer some of those questions right now too. And I think like like whenever stuff appears that you're like, I don't know what this does, feel free to just ask me. In general, like you mentioned the exclamation point. The exclamation point is only within Colab. It's just a Colab specific syntax. It means that it's a command line thing, a command line command. So like if I was running this on my own Mac, I would just type python scraper.py. But because it's Colab, whose default is Python, if I want to run something from the command line, I have to put this exclamation point. Yeah, it's a little bit of a, yeah, like if I don't type anything and there's no exclamation point, this is just Python. This is straight Python, print 3. But this right here is a command line thing that is running. It's saying like, use Python, run this file, the script that's here. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and then these like the double dashes versus the single dashes. If you notice here, like there's this dash H and dash dash help. Those two will do the same thing. Usually the double dash is like the full name, and then like the short dash and the single letter is just this like quick abbreviation. Like running this dash H will do the same thing as if I type like dash dash help. Yeah. Yeah, and then usually like these, they're called, like Eddie called them modifiers. You can also call them like arguments or flags, like arguments. Or you can call them flags. Usually, sometimes, like often you'll add either a string or a number afterwards to be like the max pages is 2, or the search term is this string paper cuts. And sometimes you won't even need like something here. Like in the case of help, it's just an on-off kind of thing. Where if it's there, it knows to like print out all the stuff. But if it's not there, it doesn't do it. Yeah.
And when you give a value through that flag, does it sort of pass it into like scraper.py, for example, almost like it's running a function? Is that the right way to describe it?
Exactly. Yeah, there is if you like scraper.py, I can actually send you to a Python, like a video on Python stuff. But essentially this is calling this scraper.py file. And if you open it up, you can kind of dig it out. If you scroll to the bottom, it has these arguments, and then they are passed into, yeah. Let's see. I think, yeah, this QS. This is getting a little bit into the weeds, but I think it just takes your max pages that you passed in and puts them into this function, and then calls this function with like the arguments you specified in your command line. And then like, yeah, max pages will be used like here and here and other places in the function. And like this QS, I think is the queries, the search queries. Yeah. Like QS, this variable gets this C search, which is specified by this dash search, which you do specify right here in this dash search. It's a little bit of like a, you have to like click here and then click here and click here and follow it. But yeah, I think generally a good place to start is if you're trying to figure out how to call a script is to do the -h, and it'll give you like a place to start.
Right. I guess
Yeah.
I'm just curious for like navigating future data sets or like any kind of manipulation that we want to try out, kind of understanding like how much is helpful to understand.
Yeah.
I have a similar sort of, like if you are looking at that double dash search, if I type in like -s and then put the string into
Yep.
double quotes, and then instead of double dash max dash pages, I type in -m
Yep.
space 1, 2, 3, whatever. So that will do the same thing.
Yeah. And then this one like
Because
-st.
we've already declared it in the
Um,
scraper item file.
yeah, in the script, like whether you do -s or dash
Yeah.
search, they're interchangeable. So you can do either one and they're both do exactly the same thing.
Interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I run the last bit, which says save, it asks me to go to a link where I get
Yep.
an authentication code,
Yep.
which I paste, and then it
Yep.
does
Yeah, you'll
nothing.
get to a page like this. You'll need to copy this and then put it into that. And now there should be like this drive folder here, which should contain your Google Drive. And then you can just like take your scraped images and drag and drop them into your drive. And then they should appear in your Google Drive. Okay. Yeah. Annie, I saw your question about how do you create the file. Yeah, so you ran these cells at the top. So now within Flickr Scrape, you can click these 3 dots.
Where do okay, I don't even see like how to get to that Flickr. Like, is that in the table of contents?
So if you're in the table of contents, you should click this folder icon here.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. And then
And
click on
then-
the, and then what? Yeah.
Click on these 3 dots next to Flickr Scrape. And then there'll be new file.
Oh, okay.
And
And
then you
then,
can call it credentials JSON.
JSON. Okay, and then double click on that and then put in the,
Exactly. Go and grab this, stick it in there, and then put in your API key and your secret API secret.
okay. Getting closer.
Okay. See ya, Eddie. I think Eddie left already. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll adjourn class in 9 minutes after. They're at 30 after the hour. But yeah, I'll hang around with any debugging problems.
I'm gonna head out too. Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, see you, Sam.
Okay, so once I've put the secret code in there, do I just, do I save it or do I just X out of it and it stays there?
If here, let me share my screen again. If you just do like Control S or Command S,
Okay.
it'll save it.
Okay.
And then, yeah, you should be able to go to the next cell.
I think I'm doing something wrong. I shared a screenshot. So
Yeah,
um,
looking at it. Yeah.
when I run that cell, right? So it's so I put in the code and it's just rotating right now, and
Did
it's
you
not
press,
doing anything.
after you enter the code, press enter. Did you get it?
Yeah, it
Okay,
will.
cool. Awesome.
Okay, just one more question. So I'm in
Yeah.
the next cell, scrape a search term. Where do I do that? In the scraper.py?
So the first cell here, actually, could you share your screen?
Yeah.
And then I can guide you. Cool. So this first cell is to scrape a search term. That's why it has this dash dash search. And this command as is will scrape the search term snowflake, and I'll scrape the first 2 pages. If you want a different search term, you can substitute out snowflake with something else.
Oh, I see. So I change it like right here.
So,
Got
yeah.
it. This is just like a test, right? Or Or should I just keep it with Snowflake?
You could do rugs. Yeah. It
Like this.
doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And,
then press play.
I think this might be the same thing that Sabrina had, where you have 2 Flickr scrapes. You could either
Should I
well,
delete it?
first, I think you should actually. So I think you are probably within this, the second one, like the nested one.
Mhm.
So I'd take my credentials, your credentials.json, and put it in there. And I
Put
think you're
it
actually like in
in
the
here.
yeah. And then also just for, oh, you have 3 actually. Maybe you'll go into the third one. You have 3 Flickr
Oh my
scrapes.
gosh.
Okay, and then yeah, grab your credentials and stick it in this latest one. Yeah. Generally, you would not want this, but we can work around it
Okay.
for now.
Play or run.
Hierarchy. Can you click on this? It's saying there's something wrong with the credentials.json. If you double click on it. Oh, it's backward. Oh, you're missing some parts of it. It should look like this. So open bracket, key.
Open bracket.
Yeah. See you, Alyssa. Thanks for coming. Yeah, it should look like this.
Oh, so should I put the word key back in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Oh, I see. You substituted in. Okay. Yeah. There should be key, and then you yeah. And then your API key is where you copy and paste. And
Oh,
your
got
API secret is where you copy and paste. Yeah.
no.
See ya, Anshul. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um.
And then you can go and scrape it. Great. Searching for regs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there it goes. And it's gonna download 2 pages. Now that you have credentials.json, you might want to download it for later so you don't have to do that again.
Okay, and then how do I download it?
Click these circles, and then download. Yeah. Yep, and it looks like after this you'll have 1495 images of regs. Although,
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot of regs.
Thanks so much for
they'll
walking me
be,
through it.
yeah, so they'll be saved out to this images folder, and then to actually save them, because right now they're just in this Google Colab notebooks session. If you scroll down, they're like within the notebook. If you scroll down, like out here, if you scroll down.
Oh.
Yeah. Keep scrolling.
Are these all rugs? Okay.
This will be how to mount your Google Drive, and then you can just drag and drop the regs folder to your Google Drive.
Got it. Okay. How long does it usually take to download?
Scroll back up. I think it's probably like 20% done already. It's 77% done. It's actually almost done.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for walking me through it.
Yeah, no problem. So, Sabrina and Kevin, how you doing? The last of the group.
Good. I had made it through like the first step into scraping, but then I realized that my link for the second one wasn't like a group link, so it didn't work. But
I see.
I understand why it
Yeah,
wasn't.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that I think I forgot to stick in the notebook was for the group one, also make sure to put max pages, or else it'll scrape many, many pages if the group has many pages. So just
Okay.
stick on like dash max pages too. And
Yeah, I had it. It's at 2 and 0.
yeah, that's exactly what you want.
Okay, cool.
You could, yeah. And if you wanted, you can make it like do 3 or
Okay.
whatever. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Kevin, how's it going?
It's good. I got it to run. But then
Yay!
I got it to copy over to Drive, so that's good. So now I
Sweet.
have a lot of images.
Nice.
But I'm also curious, like how cropped off does like aligned does everything need to be for it to be, for it to work? Like I was just looking at like a search for water towers, and they're all, some of them are like a little wonky, whatever. Like
Yeah.
how like is it just like you have to go through and like manually like how much fussing do you have to do to get something interesting?
I would like everything you scrape from Flickr, I would like just, I don't know, put in like medium thumbnail and then go through and delete things that look really out of place. Yeah. I think, yeah, this is like, there's no real way to get around it with scraping things from the internet, that you will most likely get a lot of things that you can't use. Yeah, I think something you can do to like litmus test that is to just go to Flickr and try to find specific search terms that seem pretty good before going and scraping all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess, sorry, one last question is, once we have like a data set, is what we're running specifically like a StyleGAN, or is it just GAN generally?
Yeah, it's a StyleGAN.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the exploration is more about like moving through like the latent space, like from point to point, and the kind of like the interpolation.
Yeah, totally. Or generating like a bunch of images, like a bunch of fake water towers.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, I guess with that, I'll close out class for the remaining 3 of y'all. Yeah. And of course, like just ping in the Slack if you run into anything or like need
Can
help
you send a
debugging.
link to that Slack?
I think, yeah, I'll make sure to re-invite you. Like, I think I'll need to add you.
Okay.
Well, could you put in the chat your email address, and I'll go ahead and invite you right now.
Yes. Wait, I don't even know where you are. Okay, there you are.
Okay, you just got invited.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Can I ask one last quick question?
Well, yeah, go for it.
Sorry. Just like if we wanted to test like using a couple different clips, or like had ideas for a couple small data sets, and it wasn't like a ton of work to gather the images, is it still a lot of work to make that data set? Or is it something where it can be like, I scraped all these images and they look good enough, like I just want to quickly like try it out?
Like to just test out, like I have like 3 data sets. I'm not really sure how they work, but I just want to see what comes out, like experiment rapidly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, once you start training, like you'll know maybe after like half a day what the results will look like, and you'll have a pretty good idea of like this is going to work or not. Yeah, I think the only part that would be a little bit time consuming would be like making making all three of those data sets and making them all 1024 and square. But once
Right.
you have that, like it takes maybe about like half a day to get a pretty good idea of how it's going to turn out.
Right. Like those clips that the previous student you shared, I think with like faces turning and like hands moving and morphing, like those are all trained on clips. And then that's like a half
Yep.
day like of training on one
Yep.
clip.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I'll see you all next week. Annie, did you have another question?
Yeah, just the very last step of dragging and dropping. Like, okay, so I mounted at content.drive. Now drag and drop the folder into your Google Drive, and I'm trying to drag like this rugs folder, and it's not, I don't know, it's not dropping.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
The content.drive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that was good.
So not drag and drop. So I'm dragging this folder into my Google Drive.
Yeah. And then also open up this little drive chevron. It's kind of, yeah, if you click right here.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you'll drag and drop into,
Oh, I
My
was like
drive.
dragging it from one window to another. Okay.
yeah, just take this rugs, then drag and drop it and stick it in there.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Thank you so
And
much.
then, yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night, y'all. See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Have a good week.
Yeah.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.